Alistair Burt, you write in your Times article about the need to redress the military disadvantage faced by the Free Syrian Army. In other words, arm the rebels.
In other words, allow people the chance to defend themselves, yes. The problem at present is that the squeeze between the murderous forces of the regime and the jihadis is being experienced by people who originally came out against their government peacefully and have had the weaponry of the regime turned against them. We have tried all sorts of things to redress the balance over the last 2.5 years. We've worked hard diplomatically, we've done everything we can. But I think there would be more chance of success in Geneva if collectively nations appreciated that it needed to put some muscle behind the negotiating process, and perhaps ensuring that the FSA realised that they could have access to things to defend themselves would be a help.
But how do you do that, and how does Britain do that, given the vote last summer against military action in Syria, for example? How is that possible?
Well, I think it's going to be very difficult for the United Kingdom. Parliament made its view clear. I'm not sure that there is a majority yet in Parliament for this. But the point of our letter was not simply to talk to opinion in the United Kingdom and try and turn one particular thing round. It was to make the case that the narrative at present, led by Assad, is that it is him for stability against the jihadis. We have to make sure that the public understand that there is a group supported by over 100 states in the Friends of Syria process who believe in a pluralistic, democratic Syria. They are finding their forces killed, they're finding civilians killed, and they want the means to defend themselves, and that will give them an opportunity to take part with some seriousness at the negotiations for the political transition we all know is necessary.
But actually arming the rebels could end up fanning the flames of conflict, couldn't it?
Well, instead of having 130,000 killed by the regime, it could go up. I take that point, but I am reflecting what the Syrian opposition are saying to us. They want a negotiated solution. They want to see a diplomatic end to this, and they want a political transition. But their point to me is, why should Assad negotiate when he's backed by the Russians, he's backed by the Iranians, he has Hezbollah fighting for him? What advantage is it to him in a negotiation to throw his hands up in the air and say, well, I'll cave in?
So do you detect a change of stance, if not President Assad, but towards the regime as a whole from the UK government?
I think what the UK government is trying to do is, having put so much effort into the diplomatic process, it wants to see Geneva a success. William Hague said in reply to a question from me today that if the Geneva process demonstrated that the regime was not interested in political transition, that it wished for its killing machine simply to go on, that might spark a different reaction from the other nations that are taking part in the Geneva process. Now, that may well happen, and that would be something to encourage. What the letter is designed to do is not to stimulate more conflict and more violence. It is to say that without something changing the situation, a situation which has now killed 130,000 people, displaced 9 million, and looks set to continue, will just not come to an end.
But
and that's what we're trying to do.
Isn't there a recognition in the UK government that however murderous President Assad is, that the alternative of a country run by al-Qaeda-linked groups is potentially worse?
But that isn't the alternative. That is Assad's alternative.
Well, it's one alternative.
That is the Assad narrative, which is it's him for stability against the jihadis. This ignores completely those for 2.5 years who have taken up arms against a murderous regime, who have worked with an international group of nations, who've committed themselves to human rights, to a pluralistic political future, to democracy. They are the people to be supported.